I'm going to say over the course of 1 second, maybe even less than that, 12 frames, I am going to change each of those variables. So I am going to first the position. I'm going to drag and drop it down here and position it a little bit over top of our explosion. So we're sort of emanating from this satellite, and this is where we want it to end up. And because I just changed the position, then we get a secondary keyframe down here, right, for position. Secondly, I'm going to say that maybe is going to happen a little over the course of a little more time. So what I want to change next is the scale. I want that to happen pretty quickly. And I'm going to scale this up. And if I do so, you can see it scale up here, right? And of course, since my time marker was in a different place, it added a keyframe automatically to where that should be. So I put that shortly after its initial appearance, and then a few frames later it scales way up, and then since I animated the position originally, then it has moved along those ways. If I hold shift, my time marker will lock to my end position, and at this point, if I change the scale yet again, and this time I'm going to do it by dragging on the handlebars or the corner markers of the thing, of the object up here. I'm going to scale it down, hold shift, and scale it down so that it's kind of consumed by that glowy area. It scales up, right, as it leaves the initial start position, and then scales down as it traverses towards its target. And that's happening just because I'm clicking and dragging on the time marker, right? So as I scrub that back and forth, you can see what it's doing. Now, just because good animation and motion graphics often have some subtle keyframe changes made in terms of the velocities of what happens at each keyframe, I'm going to go under Keyframe Assistant with each of those keyframes selected. And under Keyframe Assistant, I am going to choose Easy Ease, and that changes the velocity at which this element goes from one keyframe to the next. So if you click right here, this is your graph editor, right? If I click here, you'll see what happens at each of those keyframes. So this is the change in velocity. Graph editor gives us a view of the change in velocity that happens from one keyframe to the next. And that's kind of good because you can go in there and tweak those if you want. If you know enough about that, that's great. But still, what's basically happening here is this velocity is being a little more subtle when it changes from one position or one scale to the next position or scale. And if I hit my spacebar, it's going to load into RAM memory, and we're going to get a little preview of what's happening with this circle. So it scales up from its original source here, and then traverses down to its target on Earth here. I'm going to take this layer, I'm going to chop it down to that last keyframe, and I want to duplicate this now. And I'm going to duplicate it a bunch of times because I want this to happen. So I'm going to Command D with one of those layers selected, duplicates it, and if I keep hitting Command D, then I'm going to get a bunch of different duplications. I'm going to click on one of those layers, hold Shift, and go click on the last layer. Now if I hit Control and click on any one of these layers, it's going to give me a number of menu options. I go up to Keyframe Assistant, and the only option available to us is Sequence Layers. So I want to sequence these layers. So it's going to give me this dialog here where we have the option to overlap. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to overlap these by, let's say, 5 frames. I'm just going to take a bit of a guess. And you have the option to build in a dissolve from one frame to the next in there. Let's say just dissolve from front layer. Hit OK, we'll see what happens, and you can see how each of those layers offset by the 5 frames, which is right in here. And with them still selected, if I hit T for transparency or opacity, it will show me that it's built in those keyframes. And if I load this into RAM memory for a preview by hitting spacebar, we'll watch it, see what it's done, see how it's offset these by a significant amount, and then we're loading it and playing it back. So this is more or less the effect that I'm going for, and I kind of like where it's at. If you're making a looping animated GIF, you may want to time that out a little more specifically, but that's okay. There's some other ways that you can fix that, and we'll address those in a minute. Okay, so now that I've got those layers all offset, I'm pretty happy with the way that they're happening. I'm going to add a whole new level of finesse to this. Actually, it's more of a production technique. So what I'm going to do, I've still got them selected. If for some reason you've selected off, then you can go back and select the top one and go find your bottom layer. Hold Shift and click, and you select them all again. And with them all selected, again, I'm going to hit Control, click on one of the layers, and right here is something called Pre-Compose. Basically, combines them in another composition, and we'll be able to go into that composition and continue to edit these layers as they're offset. But within this composition, it will see the other composition as just a single layer. All of a sudden, pre-composition. I have the option here to name it, so I'm going to say Pulse FX pre-comp, keep it named there, and I'm going to keep clicked the option that says move all attributes into the new composition, and it will also open the new composition if I've got this toggled on. So it automatically bumps me to the new one, okay? So you can see all the layers that I was working with previously, but there's none of the other graphic layers. So this is a standalone composition now. If I want to go back to that composition, this is what has happened, right? Like this is the layer that used to be the multiple that we've bumped into this new composition here, but now it's seen as a single layer. And if I turn that off, you can see how it disappears up there, right? So if I hit spacebar to play and RAM preview that, we still get the same effect. It's still recognizing everything that's happening in that pre-composition and playing them back. I'm actually going to go in and just tweak the elements of that pre-composition a little bit. The offset of these layers goes beyond the length of my composition. So this composition is 5 seconds based off of the last composition that we pre-composed out of. So by hitting Command K, I can go into my composition settings for this composition. And because this is a pre-composition, I'm doing a bunch of things in there, and I might be manipulating some time. I'm going to extend this to 10 seconds. So hit OK, and if I zoom out, you can see that it goes all the way down to there. I'm then again going to select and hold Shift and grab all these layers, and I'm going to, with them Shift and clicked and selected, I'm going to Command D to duplicate, and you can see it duplicates all those layers. Now what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to offset the ones that are selected, the new layers, by a number of frames, and I'm going to probably, sort of guessing here at the duration, I'm going to duplicate again and offset these by a similar number of frames. And the effect that will give me, obviously, is if I hit spacebar, you'll see this continuous pulsing. So we're getting more of the effects over top of one another, right? It's just to kind of enhance that effect. And because of the speed and the duration, you can see that it's getting kind of blurry. And there's a little bit of uneven overlap in terms of timing, but I like the effect overall, so I'm going to stick with it. Make sure you save as you go, so you don't lose the work you've been doing. And then if I go back to my main composition and load that into RAM memory just to see what it looks like, then you get a sense of what's happening. So I'm pretty happy with that effect. I'm going to leave that for now. You could always come back and blur those layers or add effects, distortion effects or glow effects or something to that pre-composition or individual, the emanating circles or what have you. anything you want to do to sort of dress it up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to call it a new solid. New solid is basically solid layer, just a color. Just going to call it orange solid. Let's say orange glow FX. Keep it like so. Zoom out, and I can see there I've got the whole solid sitting over top of everything. If I hit Command square bracket to the left, send it down a couple layers, right? Or to the right bracket, bring it up. And I'm going to set it in behind here. Next thing I'm going to do is add a new mask. New mask, under layer, new mask to that layer. And in the settings for that mask, you'll find it down here, right? In the settings for that mask, I'm going to make it an ellipse. Under mask shape, change that from rectangle to ellipse. Hit OK. You can see it changes to an ellipse, and I'm also going to feather that mask significantly because I'm going to use this as sort of a special effect, glow effect. If I double click on one of the handles on the mask, it's going to give me like a transform tool, just like you'd see in Photoshop or Illustrator. And I'm going to shrink this down like so, and I'm going to maybe make that feather a little bit less and try and align it with those emanating circles. Right? Match the dimensions a little bit more. I'm going to stick it one version in behind my satellite, like so. Then we're going to composite this. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone into that mask, the mask shape, and I've added a keyframe at the scale that was at. Now I'm going to scale it up. Oops. Right, so that we get some subtle animation. So now I've got the two keyframes, right? Two different shapes or scales, depending on how you look at it. And I'm just going to drag and select and copy, Command C, and I'm going to paste that a bunch of times. So if I take a look at that, loading it into RAM memory, you can see how it's sort of animating. It'll load here in a second and start to play back in real time. So you kind of get this sense that, you know, something electronic or energy based is happening from that point. Kind of helps enhance the effect. I'm now going to duplicate this layer and use it, the same layer with the same animation, in a different way. You can see too how multiplying it over top of one another, so two layers on top of one another with the additive effect, that might be something you actually want, right? Like you can play around with this, duplicating things, playing with different transfer modes. So the last thing I did was I duplicated one of those layers. First of all, I took the second one that we just looked at, took the top one, and I cut the opacity down to 50%, just so that you can see it's a little less in your face, a little less over the top, right? So then I've duplicated one of those orange glow layers and repositioned it down over top of the place on the planet that this effect is. And then I've repositioned that so that it aligns a little bit better. And I may then also take the opacity down, let's say to 40%, so the effect is a little more subtle. And then you can kind of get this idea that there's a cause up here and an effect down here, an action and a reaction. And because of the emanating circles, we can see where we're firing. And you can go in here, change the timing of things. Maybe you want one up here to pulse a little faster, and down here to pulse a little slower, or vice versa. Play with the colors, play with the transfer modes in how things are compositing. But from here, you need to just render this video out and then import your rendered video into Photoshop so that you can then save back out as an animated GIF.